All right, there are some other functions of proteins on the membranes of cells. So if this is my lipid bilayer, and this is outside of the cell, and this is in, there are receptors. So I could have a protein here. It could be peripheral, which means that it is only on one side, and there could still be lipids on the other side, or it could be integral. Integral means it goes the whole way through. So peripheral, only on one side or the other. Integral, all the way through. If it is a receptor, like any protein, it has a very specific shape. And that shape will allow it to receive certain molecules. This is going to be really important in the action of hormones. You have a lot of hormones that are released in one part of your body and have an effect on a very different part of your body. So a perfect example, in your brain, you have your pituitary gland. And the pituitary gland produces hormones that have effects in many other places. So that, for example, follicle-stimulating hormone produced in the brain travels through the blood, but really just has an impact when it reaches either ovaries or testes, and it will cause the production of other hormones in those places. But they do not target your liver, they don't target your stomach, they don't have an effect on any other place because there are only receptors present in this place. So regardless of if it is a peripheral or an integral protein, there must be a specific shape so that it receives it. The substance that is received, the signal molecule, is called a ligand. So a ligand is a really general term meaning it's a signal. It could be a hormone, it could be a neurotransmitter. Those are the two most common ligands, hormones, neurotransmitters. All right, I want to talk about another type of protein that you will find that is not a receptor. It is for recognition. So lipid bilayer, protein. Again, the protein could be peripheral, it could be integral. It could be just on one side with lipids here showing that this region of the protein must be very hydrophobic and this part very hydrophilic. This one is going to be a recognition protein. So recognition allows it to notice what cells belong to you and what cells don't. It is a glycoprotein. Glyco, G-L-Y-C-O, tells you sugar. These are sugar chains. So a glycoprotein, the protein portion is right here, the sugar portion is right here, and it's often considered an oligosaccharide chain. Not a monosaccharide, not a disaccharide, not a poly, but maybe 20 or more sugars attached. So a shorter chain, not 100, so I don't really want to call it poly, is called an oligosaccharide chain. So these oligosaccharide chains are often for recognition, and they make up what is called your MHC, major histocompatibility complex. That's like your sugar coating to your cells. Each one of your cells has its own MHC. I call it my Nancy Mancuso markers. So each one of my cells has their own special recognition sequences that extend out from the cell to let all other cells within my body know, oh, that cell belongs. It's got the Nancy Mancuso mark. That one belongs, that one belongs, that one belongs. So these are like little tags sticking out from a cell. That allows your body to recognize when something does not have those tags, it does not belong. And then it can launch an immune response to target and get rid of those cells that do not have MHC on it. It also poses a little bit of a problem. I'm sure you've heard about people having bone marrow drives and figuring out, could you be a donor for somebody? To be a donor, you have to have a very similar MHC so that you can trick the body into believing that it's correct. So maybe if I need a transplant of some kind, they're not going to have exactly Nancy Mancuso markers, but maybe they have something that's really, really close to a Nancy Mancuso marker that my body will not reject it. If I reject it, that means I notice it doesn't belong and I attack it. You can also be on medicines that help reduce the responses. The only bad thing about that, of course, if you're reducing your responses to foreign bodies, you're more likely to get sick. So that is a recognition protein, helps your body recognize what parts of the cell or what other cells belong or don't belong. All right, so that was just a quick little video just to catch you up on a couple others. Oh, you know what? I'm going to bring up one more. Anchoring proteins. This time, here's the outside of the cell and here's the in. This time I'm actually going to have my molecule be a peripheral protein that is on the inside, not facing out of the cell, but facing the inside of the cell. And it is an anchoring protein, and it anchors microtubules. Microtubules, remember, are proteins, and proteins need to be anchored someplace. The protein could extend into the cell and help give it structure and shape, or the protein could extend out of the cell and it could be a flagella. So a flagella has to have something that it attaches to inside of the cell. It's usually an anchoring protein that holds it in that place. Other things that exist, flagella usually means a long, more of a single tail, or sometimes they're diflagellates, meaning two flagellas. And if there's many that come out, we call them cilia. All right, so protein anchors are another great example of something that you would find as a protein in the cell membrane. So far we have talked about 5 different things that are proteins in a membrane. We've talked about channel proteins, transport proteins, recognition proteins, receptor proteins, and now anchoring proteins. That makes up all the proteins that are found within cell membranes.